Hi, and welcome to Lit, a podcast and community that explores Black women and romantic love through the lens of romance novels. I'm your host, Octavia Marie. Each episode of Lit trains a spotlight on a new Black romance novel and then deep dives into the many themes facing Black women and love after 40. Be ready to laugh, sigh, and talk about Black women falling in love, yes, sex too, and the Black authors writing their stories. Hey y'all, welcome back to Lit, a podcast about Black love, Black romance, and the stories that reflect the beauty, complexity, and richness of the lives of Black women. I'm your host, Octavia Marie, and this space is your sanctuary. A place to celebrate the romance book characters and the real-life moments that move us, shape us, and help us feel seen. Today's episode is something special. It's a refreshed energy and a deeper rhythm. Think of it like a gentle relaunch. We're still here for the story, still celebrating the beauty of Black love and life, but now we're layering in more of what life handed me over the last 2.5 years. Healing from colorectal cancer, caring for an aging mom, and rebuilding from the inside out. These past few years taught me something important. Rest isn't a luxury. It's a necessity. Joy is resistance, presence is healing, and love for ourselves and others is at the center of it all. I wanted to create a space where we could talk about all of it, the messy healing, the beautiful breakdowns, the comebacks, the rituals, and the romance, because they're all part of the same story. And what better book to start this new chapter with than Kennedy Ryan's Can't Get Enough, the final installment in the Skyland series. Whew. This book had me up until 3 a.m. on a weeknight. I told myself I'd read a few chapters and go to bed. Next thing I know, I'm whispering, screaming into my pillow, flipping pages and catching all the feelings. So grab your tea, light your candle, and get comfortable. And let's get into this beautifully layered, emotionally rich, and irresistibly romantic story. I think we were all fascinated by Hendrix in the first 2 books, and we've been waiting on this story. And this book gave what it needed to give, period. Book 3 in the Skyland series, and baby Kennedy closed it out with heat, depth, and so much heart. We meet Hendrix Bell, confident, curvy, independent, and unapologetically herself. A woman who knows her worth, knows what she wants, and doesn't waste her time. The definition of a rich auntie energy. And Maverick, whoa. This man is walking life support in a tailored suit, and he falls first, he falls hard, and he never lets up. This final book in the Skyland series explores shifts in family dynamics, deep love, and the kind of healing that feels both tender and powerful. I think we've all been waiting to see what Hendrix's story would be. We've gotten little peeks of her throughout the series, and now she's really stepping out into the spotlight on her own. And y'all, the chemistry. It wasn't just sizzling, it was tensioning. Like, I don't know how Kennedy does it, but she can make a look feel like foreplay. That whisper line in the book, you know the one. I had to put my Kindle down and take a nap. I laughed, I cried, I swooned. There may have been some considerations to text the next. Just for research purposes. I didn't, but it was close. And let me tell you about Maverick Bell. This is not your typical alpha male romance hero. He's emotionally intelligent, attentive to detail, and his pursuit of Hendrix is calculated, yet tender. And from the moment he meets her at that gala, he's hooked. But what makes him so special is how he shows up for her in reality, not just her fantasy. Maverick understands the weight Hendrix carries as a caregiver. He doesn't try to fix it or minimize it. He steps into her world with grace and offers support in ways that matter. He shows up at family dinners. He remembers her mom's good days and bad days. He learns the songs that soothe her mother during difficult moments. And I love the way Maverick embodies the billionaire archetype, but with purpose. He's not just wealthy for the sake of status. His wealth is a tool for legacy building and liberation. He gives generously to HBCUs and uses his resources to address the harm done by marijuana criminalization in Black communities. Instead of distancing himself from these issues, he leans in, using his privilege to build generational wealth and create change. But what really stood out is how he brings that same intentionality into his relationship with Hendrix. He offers her care without control. He protects her peace without dimming her light. He respects her dreams without making them secondary to his own. That balance, love without possession, support without ego, it's rare. And it's exactly what makes him such a powerful love interest for a woman as dynamic and self-possessed as Hendrix. The way Kennedy writes his character development throughout the book is masterful. We see him evolve from a man who's used to getting what he wants through sheer force of will to someone who learns that real love requires vulnerability, patience, and the wisdom to know when to lead and when to follow. And then there's a forbidden romance aspect that adds another layer of complexity to their relationship. When loyalties clash with heart desires, watching Hendrix navigate these choppy waters while maintaining her integrity is compelling. The way Ryan builds tension through family gatherings, knowing glances, and stolen moments creates an electric undercurrent throughout the novel. Their chemistry isn't just physical, though believe me, that is scorching. It's mental and emotional. Their banter sparks with wit and intelligence. They challenge each other intellectually while building a foundation of trust that can withstand the family drama threatening to tear them apart. And let me tell you, I appreciate how Kennedy Ryan executes the he falls first trope. Maverick doesn't just fall first, he falls strategically, intentionally, and completely. From their first encounter, he recognizes something in Hendrix that matches his own energy and ambition. His courtship isn't about grand gestures designed to impress. It's about consistent care that helps Hendrix's life feel lighter. He studies her favorite foods and has them delivered after her long hospital shifts with her mother. He learns about Alzheimer's care strategies not to mansplain, but to offer informed support. He sends her messages that brighten her day without demanding immediate responses. This isn't just romantic. It's revolutionary in how it portrays Black masculine love and devotion. Now, there is spice there too. Kennedy Ryan said, let me put some respect on these characters' names. These intimate scenes are wow. They're detailed, they're passionate, and they're emotionally resonant. The intimacy feels earned because we've invested in watching these characters trust each other with their hearts before they trust each other with their bodies. The build-up to their physical connection mirrors Hendrix's emotional journey from guardedness to surrender. Each intimate scene reveals something new about their characters and deepens our understanding of their bond. Hey, romance book lovers. It's your host, Octavia Marie, and I've got something exciting to share with you. You already know how much I adore Black romance books. Now I've taken it to the next level. Introducing Culture Lit Podcast digital bookstore on bookshop.org. Visit bookshop.org/shop/Culture Lit Podcast. That's bookshop.org/shop/Culture Lit Podcast. This is the spot where you can find every swoon-worthy romance novel I've ever raved about on the podcast and so much more. Not only can you snag your next favorite read, but every purchase supports independent bookstores and celebrates the voices of Black authors in romance. It's a win-win for readers like us who love keeping the Black romance literary community thriving. Thank you for being a part of the Culture Lit Podcast community and happy reading. I can't wait to hear what books you fall in love with next. And then for me, Where the book became more than a story, Hendricks' journey caring for her mother as she navigates Alzheimer's was painfully real. And I say that from the most personal place. My sister and I are currently supporting our mother who's aging, forgetting things, and in some ways slowly slipping into a version of herself we don't fully recognize. And this is after watching my grandmother's dementia deteriorate. There's a quiet heartbreak in caregiving that rarely gets the spotlight. It's waking up every day, knowing your role is to comfort someone who may not always recognize you. It's managing their needs while trying to protect your own peace. And in our community, this emotional labor is almost always shouldered by women, often Black women, often without enough support, enough rest, or enough acknowledgement. And in this third book, Kennedy Ryan is really looking at Alzheimer's through the experience of a heroine who is a caregiver for an aging parent. And I think it was incredibly personal for Kennedy, too, as she shared that her grandmother was living with dementia at the time she wrote this book. That authenticity comes through on every page, the care, the research, the emotional truth of it all. Kennedy Ryan doesn't sugarcoat the reality of Alzheimer's caregiving. She shows us Hendricks' exhaustion when her mother has a difficult day. She portrays the guilt that comes with feeling frustrated. She captures the moments of clarity that offer hope, followed by the regression that crushes it. The book explores how Alzheimer's affects family dynamics. We see siblings responding differently to their mother's condition, some in denial, others overwhelmed, all struggling to find their footing in this new reality. This mirrors what so many of us experience. And then one aspect Kennedy addresses is the financial and professional cost of caregiving. Hendricks, a successful entrepreneur, must balance growing her business with increasing care demands. The book doesn't shy away from showing how this affects her bottom line, her time management, and her mental bandwidth. The representation matters because it validates the real trade-offs many of us make. The promotions postponed, the networking events missed, the sleepless nights spent researching care options instead of working on passion projects. The novel also touches on cultural attitudes towards elder care in Black families, the expectation that children will care for aging parents at home, the resistance to assisted living or professional care, the shame associated with putting mama in a home. I felt that deeply when we finally had to make the choice to put my grandmother in a home. These are conversations happening in living rooms across Black America, and Kennedy gives them the nuance they deserve. Hendricks' journey illuminates the importance of setting boundaries in caregiving. We watch her learn when to say no, when to ask for help, and how to protect her own mental health while honoring her mother's needs. This is revolutionary for many of us raised to believe that good daughters sacrifice everything. The book normalizes therapy and mental health support for caregivers. Hendricks doesn't go through this alone. She has professional support, family support, and most importantly, the self-awareness to seek help when she was overwhelmed. Perhaps most touchingly, the novel preserves the dignity of Hendricks' mother even as her condition progresses. We see flashbacks of her vibrant past. We witness moments with her where her personality shines through the fog. We understand why fighting to keep her at home matters so much to Hendricks. This representation honors our elders by showing them as full people with rich histories, not just patients to be managed. It reminds readers that behind every Alzheimer's diagnosis is a life fully lived, deserving of respect and honor. And then let's touch on Hendricks' confidence as a plus-size woman. In this book, we see plus-size representation done right. Hendricks' confidence as a plus-size woman isn't treated as revolutionary within the story world. It's her natural state. This is powerful. Her desirability is never questioned. Her worth is never tied to her size. Her sensuality isn't qualified by her body type. Kennedy writes Hendricks' physicality with such reverence and appreciation. From the way Maverick's hands worship her curves to how she moves through the world in her power, there's never a moment when her body is seen as anything less than worthy of love, desire, and celebration. Hendrix is a plus-size, brown-skinned woman who isn't just loved, she's desired, adored, and chosen, unapologetically and without condition. That kind of representation matters. For women who rarely see ourselves reflected as the center of someone's longing, it's powerful to witness a character who isn't an afterthought or comic relief, but the heartbeat of the love story. She's not asked to change. She's not expected to prove her worth. She simply is, radiant, confident, and wholly deserving of the kind of love that sees her fully and says, I want you. Maverick could have anyone, and he wants her, not in spite of who she is, but because of it. The intimate scenes between Hendrix and Maverick are written with heat and passion that centers her pleasure. There's no hesitation. There's no insecurity to overcome. Maverick is attracted to her fully, completely, intensely. This kind of representation matters for readers who rarely see themselves desired this way in mainstream romance. What makes Hendrix's confidence so compelling is its layers. Yes, she's confident in her sexuality and her body, but she's also confident in her boundaries, her business acumen, her family values, and her life choices. Her confidence doesn't mean she's without vulnerability, though. Quite the opposite. She's confident enough to be vulnerable with the right person. She knows her worth enough to be selective about who gets access to her time, energy, and heart. This nuanced portrayal shows plus-size women that confidence isn't about being loud or proving anything. It's about knowing yourself deeply and honoring that knowledge in every area of life. Hendrix is fiercely independent and fully rooted in her own worth. She's not waiting to be chosen. She's already chosen herself. Her standards are high, and rightfully so. If love doesn't feel like peace, like partnership, like home, she'd rather walk alone. That's the kind of woman she is. So it was clear from the start that her love interest would have to be exceptional. Not flashy or performative, but grounded, generous, and emotionally secure. Hendrix isn't impressed by status. She doesn't need someone to provide for her materially. What she craves, what she deserves, is someone who offers emotional safety. Someone who can be a steady, soft place to land when the weight of caregiving, grief, and ambition feels too heavy to carry alone. And Maverick was exactly that for her. Hendrick runs a successful beauty business that caters to diverse clients. Her professional confidence mirrors her personal confidence. She knows her market, understands her value proposition, and isn't afraid to charge what she's worth. The novel does not separate her professional and personal confidence. They're intertwined aspects of the same woman who refuses to make herself smaller in any area of life. Hendrix's decision to remain child-free is presented as just that, a decision, not a plot twist, not a conflict to overcome, and certainly not something that requires a backstory or apology. In a genre where the baby equals happy ending trope still dominates, this was such a refreshing shift. She's clear, she's confident, she simply does not want children, and that's enough. Her love for her family, her community, and other people's children is never in question. She's warm, generous, and deeply connected, but her fulfillment doesn't hinge on motherhood. And what I appreciated most was how the story allows this truth to exist without tension. The conversations she has with her family, with Maverick, and with herself are grounded in mutual respect. Maverick doesn't flinch. He doesn't try to persuade her otherwise. He hears her, honors her boundaries, and moves forward accordingly. It's powerful to see a woman affirm her own desires and be met with acceptance instead of resistance. Hendrix doesn't bend. She doesn't negotiate. She's upfront about what she wants, and if that disqualifies someone from being a partner, she's at peace with that. There's something deeply empowering about watching a woman hold that line and still receive the epic emotional love story she deserves. The novel explores how Hendrix's choice affects family dynamics. There are subtle pressures, well-meaning comments, and some generational misunderstandings. These moments feel authentic to anyone who's made unconventional choices within traditional families. Hendrix handles these conversations with grace but firmness. She doesn't argue or justify. She states her truth and redirects. This models boundary setting around deeply personal decisions. Also, there's this sisterhood that anchors, the trio that powers everything, Yas, Soul, and Hendrik. Watching their friendship unfold across the Skyland series has been like witnessing a masterclass in what real, grounded sisterhood looks like. These women aren't just brunch buddies or surface level friends. They are a chosen family, deeply invested in one another's healing, joy, and growth. Each woman brings something essential to the circle. Yasmin, the strategist who protects with precision. Soledad, the intuitive nurturer who holds space like no other. And Hendrix, the fiercely pragmatic protector who always shows up when it counts. One of the most beautiful undercurrents of this series is how it quietly centers Black women's mental health. It explores how we check in, how we pour into each other, how we create room to fall apart and rebuild without shame. It's a love story of another kind, friendships as refuge and as therapy. In the first two books, we saw Hendrix consistently show up for her friends with her signature steadiness and no-nonsense loyalty. She was the one you call when things fall apart, but in Can't Get Enough, it's her turn. And the way Yaz and Soul wrap around her with love, support, and zero hesitation, that's the kind of circle every woman deserves. And what's beautiful about their dynamic is how they create a space where all three can exist as their full selves. In boardrooms, they might need to code switch. In family settings, they might need to perform certain roles. But with each other, they can breathe. And this speaks to the unique power of Black female friendship, the way we hold space for each other's complexity, trauma, joy, and ambition without requiring explanation or translation. We see these women support each other through starting businesses, navigating romance, family crisis, professional challenges, health scares. Their support isn't just emotional, it's practical. They show up with food after long weeks. They problem solve business challenges together. They cover for each other when life gets overwhelming. Their friendship is a blueprint for collective healing. In this trio, vulnerability is honored. Asking for help is second nature, and celebration is a love language. It's a space where emotional honesty is the norm, not the exception, where no one has to carry the burden alone. This kind of sisterhood shows what's possible when Black women choose solidarity over comparison. There's no competition here, only care, protection, and deep-rooted belief in each other's wholeness. I recently saw a post on social media that said romance is often the language of female friendship, and I felt that deeply reading this series. The way these women pour into each other, anticipate each other's needs, and hold space with tenderness, it echoes the kind of devotion we often associate with romantic partners. But here, it's beautifully platonic. Hendrix, Soledad, and Yasmin are platonic soulmates, the kind of friends who show up before you even know you need them. Their bond reminded me of my own circle, women I've loved and been loved by for decades. That kind of connection is sacred. It teaches you how to love yourself better so you can love others more fully. And that, I think, is one of the biggest themes of this series. Self-love as the foundation for every other kind of love, familial, platonic, romantic. And there's also a business sisterhood. All three women are entrepreneurs, and their business relationships add another dimension to their friendship. They collaborate, refer clients, and provide professional mentorship to each other. This representation of successful, supportive Black businesswomen working together is powerful. Any reader who's part of a tight friend group will recognize the energy in these women's interactions. The inside jokes, the group chat dynamics, the shorthand communication. Kennedy Ryan captures all of it authentically. Their text messages, voice notes, and spontaneous meetups feel like glimpses into real conversations. The humor, concern, advice, and occasional roasting between them reads as genuine. And Kennedy's pacing is immaculate. She knows exactly when to slow down for emotional moments and when to accelerate for dramatic tension. The Alzheimer's storyline is woven seamlessly throughout rather than dumped in exposition. And then the book also redefines Black girl magic. Hendrick embodies what we mean when we say Black girl magic, but not in the glittery, performative way it's often reduced to. Her magic is lived in, it's earned. There's a moment in the book where she reflects on how being called magical can sometimes feel like code for you carry everything and still smile. And she's right, because for so many of us, the magic has been born out of survival, out of necessity, out of holding it all together when no one else could. That truth hit hard, especially now in a moment where so many Black women have poured their energy into a vision of the world that didn't quite materialize. And we're still grieving, still reckoning, and yet we keep showing up. Kennedy writes that kind of resilience with care. She never romanticizes it, she honors it. And what makes Hendricks so compelling is how fully formed she is. She's aspirational, yes, but she's also real, sharp, powerful, and tender, ambitious and emotionally honest. She knows what she wants and she won't dilute herself for anyone. But she also knows she doesn't want to carry everything alone, and that balance, wanting to be held without being handled, it's part of her brilliance. And Maverick, he meets her there. He doesn't just witness her strength, he reveres it. He holds space for her softness without mistaking it for weakness. And that's the kind of love that lets a woman like Hendricks exhale. The book itself feels a lot like Bell Hooks' All About Love. It invites us to look at love as a practice, as something we first learn within ourselves, then extend to our families, our friendships, and finally, our romantic partners. And in that spirit, Hendricks' story reminds us you can tell a lot about someone by how they love and by who loves them back. There's a moment in the book that feels like it was written for every ambitious woman who's ever paused to wonder, can love and my dreams truly coexist? Hendricks finds herself asking, not out of fear, but out of clarity, is Maverick asking me to give something up, or is he offering to run beside me? Whew. And wow, that line alone, journal worthy. Because so many of us have faced relationships where our ambition feels like too much, where love came with quiet ultimatums, where we were expected to shrink, to sideline our goals, to make room for someone else's story, where ours sat on the shelf. But Hendricks, she's not slowing down. She's not folding herself into someone else's vision. She's looking for and choosing a love that makes space for her dreams to breathe. And what I love about the Skyland series is how it centers women in their 40s, women who've lived, loved, lost, and learned. Hendricks knows exactly who she is. She's done the searching. There's this hilarious and honest moment where she says, in my 30s, I was in these streets looking for what? Now, she's rooted. She's clear. She's not compromising for proximity, not contorting for companionship. Kennedy captures that clarity so well. The understanding that love, real love, should never require you to disappear or accept the bare minimum. And for women who've spent years contorting to fit someone else's mold, Hendricks' journey is a powerful reminder you don't have to choose between being loved and being fully yourself. And that's it for this episode of Culture Lit. Thank you for spending this time with me, diving into Kennedy Ryan's Can't Get Enough. This book is more than a romance. It's a mirror, a teacher, and a celebration all at once. And I'm excited for this next chapter of Culture Lit, where we continue to explore stories that honor our complexities, celebrate our joy, and recognize our humanity. If you love today's episode, please share it with someone who needs to hear about this book. Text it to your bestie, post it on your stories, and please leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Slide into my DMs. I want to know which part resonated most with you. I hope this discussion helps you reflect on your own questions. What aren't you willing to compromise? What aren't you willing to settle for? How do you protect your dreams and ambitions while aligning yourself with a partner who loves and supports those ambitions? These are some of the questions that rise to the surface and can't get enough, and they're questions worth sitting with. Until the next time, protect your peace, sip your tea, and remind yourself you don't have to shrink to be loved. You've been listening to Culture Lit with Octavia Marie, and that's all for us this week. Be sure to listen, download, or subscribe to more episodes of Culture Lit. You can find Culture Lit on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Apple listeners, please be sure to leave a review and let us know what you think. Don't forget to talk to me on social or share your Black love stories at Becoming Octavia Marie on Instagram or XO Octavia Marie on Twitter.